Hey everyone, this is Ben Kane. Welcome to my presentation. I will be talking a little bit about Albany, New York, really quickly, and just kind of the quality of life and whether or not it's a good community. So we'll start with a basic, like, kind of map of Albany. As you can see, there's a lot of suburbs of Albany. You have Rensselaer, Arbor Hill, Loudonville, Menands. If you go up even further north, you'll get to Troy and Waterville. You have Colony kind of over in the west region, as well as Westmere, north of Bethlehem. So Albany is a pretty large community. It is the capital of New York State. So it does have a lot of these like smaller sub communities within it, within the larger community. Um, so next we'll kind of go over the aspects of a good community. This is from an article called Seeking the Good Community. A good community should offer residents a safe place to live, offers access to those goods and services necessary to sustain and residents at a level acceptable to them, must have relationships of the character that bind people together, must have a commonality of values and goals that helps residents pull together, is a place where people are treated as whole persons, is a place where the day-to-day relationships among residents are highly predictable, and has a recognized place within the social structure for each member, provides sufficient opportunities for growth and fulfillment, and is homogeneous enough to prevent conflict between neighbors, but heterogeneous enough to create some diversity. So, we're going to start by taking a look at the safety. So here's an image of Albany's crime map. So you can see the most dangerous areas are kind of right along the area where like Arbor Hill and downtown is. Generally, that's because there's the most like population is there. So larger population is where the more of the crime is going to likely be. Um, One second, please. And sorry, I just wanted to pull up some statistics. Um, Albany's per 1,000 crime rates for murder it's 0.08, rape is 0.61, robbery is 2.51, and assault is 5.78. These are all consistently higher than the national per 1,000 capita crime rates. It actually basically is saying Albany is not a very safe city, and it's only safer than about 7%. This info is provided from neighborhoodscout.com. Next, we'll move on to the weather. As you can see, Albany is a city that experiences very high temperatures in the summer and very low temperatures in the winter. Natural disasters are pretty low. Generally, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, stuff like that isn't something that is really prominent in Albany. I included a picture of snow in Albany, and because that is the predominant weather issue that faces Albany, it does get a lot of snowstorms. That's not generally as dangerous. It's more of an inconvenience, especially when you've lived in New York for most of your life. It's more just, oh, I have to get up and go shovel, as opposed to like this is really gonna make my life dangerous. We'll move on to some quality of life facts. These are all from the Albany like city webpage. The metro population is 881,862. The average annual salary is about $52,000. The average high-low temps are between 57 and 38 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit. Sorry. The average age is about 40. The median house price is about $200,000. The annual rainfall is about 39 inches. Unemployment rate is relatively low, 3.9%. The median monthly rent is about $956, and the average commute time is about 23 minutes. So basically, Albany is a pretty easy city to navigate. There's highways that go all through it. There's a lot of opportunity both within Albany and around Albany for jobs. So there is that. We'll go over a little bit of the demographic information here. If you look at the chart on the left, the races in Albany, that shows that Albany is predominantly white, 49%. The black population is 26.5%, so makes up basically three-fourths of the community is either white or black. Hispanic people are the third largest population. That's about 10%. Asian, 8.8%. Multiple races is about 4.2%, and then other is 0.6%. So Albany is fairly diverse. I mean, obviously, you see that nearly half the population is white, but it does also offer a lot of diversity in that is a presence of each like major cultural group. Politically, Albany has pretty consistently been a Democratic Party, generally hovering around 60% Democratic voting. As you can see, the Republican Party fluctuates. Sometimes it's close to 40, other times third-party candidates are more successful and really drag down the Republican candidates. These are in the presidential elections, but this is also pretty consistent for the community at large. Next, we're going to look at the community organizations. So, like I mentioned earlier, Albany is the state capital, so this is where the state capitol building is and the government offices for the state. That's where all the heads come to, where all the state like department heads are. There are regularly meetings, all types of events going on in and around the capital region. There's also a multitude of 2-year and 4-year colleges. U-Albany, Siena, St. Rose, Hudson Valley Community College. Those are just some of the more prominent ones in the Albany region, but there are, I believe, 12 colleges in the city. There are also many hospitals that are also connected to the colleges, generally having a lot of med students. Albany Med, probably the most prominent of those. Albany also offers a lot of community enrichment opportunities. There are multiple theaters, performing arts centers, shopping centers, farmers markets, diverse ethnic and cultural food options, which kind of taps into how diverse the community is culturally, as well as outdoor activities such as hiking and fishing. So there's a little bit of everything for people in the Albany area. Like, you really have to try to not have any interest in the Albany region, just because there is so many different types of things to do. It kind of presents itself for a little bit for everybody. Sorry. So let's finish up by reviewing is Albany a safe community, or a good community, sorry. It does offer people residents to live. Despite the fact that Albany's crime rates are higher than the national per 1,000 average, that honestly was a big surprise to me as a community member, because I've never felt unsafe around that area. So I would still say it is a relatively safe community despite what those numbers are telling us. Does it offer access to goods and services? Yes, Albany does have the ability, or does offer enough services for people to live in an acceptable lifestyle. There are relationships between the community with all those like enrichment events and government. All that stuff kind of brings people together. As we can see, we have very similar cultural values. It's predominantly democratic in that region. People are treated as whole people. This one's kind of hard to quantify, but I would say, like, based on the like high diversity mark, and that it is primarily a more liberal community, I would say it's more likely that people are treated as whole persons as opposed to discriminated against. Day-to-day relationships among residents are highly predictable. It's definitely pretty routine. As you saw, like, the commute time was pretty low. The average like income was pretty relatively high. So I think that is pretty relatively predictable. Albany also has recognized a place within social structure. Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. as well. People have pretty defined roles, relatively low unemployment. So there's that. Opportunity for growth and fulfillment. Again, low unemployment, high income numbers generally tends to point to high growth and fulfillment. And the homogeny, I think we touched on this again when we were looking at the chart, but there are significant collectives of each major cultural group, but and there are diversity, but there's also enough homogeny amongst themselves where it does not create regular conflict. We'll just stop off and show you guys the works cited page, and thank you guys for watching my presentation.